Hello, good day everyone. Today we are going to discuss the normal balances of account titles. Okay, so meron tayong problem later na i-journalize natin. So this is the problem. Ito yung ating general journal, or our book of original entry. But before we do that, let's have a quick review of our normal balances. Okay, so this table shows the normal balances of the 5 elements of financial statement. There's 5. Okay, so the first one, we have the asset. Okay, so account titles under asset, meron tayong cash, accounts receivable, meron tayong equipment, merchandise inventory, prepaid expenses. These are account titles under asset with a normal balance of debit. If in a transaction, nabawasan itong mga account titles na ito, i-credit natin siya. Next is we have the liabilities. Example ng liabilities, meron tayong accounts payable, notes payable, tax withheld payable. So this account titles, kapag nag-increase in a transaction, you should credit it. Unless you should debit it. Pag nag-decrease naman. Same with equity and revenue. So equity, nandyan si capital. Okay. Si drawing, under equity siya, however, ang normal balance niya is debit because it is contra capital account. Revenue comes in many forms. The normal balance is credit. Examples ng revenue, we have service revenue in general. We have professional fee. Okay? Pag ang business mo is a school, okay, ang pwede mong itawag sa revenue mo is tuition fee, miscellaneous fee. Okay? Pag ang business mo naman is a merchandising business, nagbibenta ka, then you can call your revenue as sales. Okay? These account titles, if it increases according to the transaction, dapat i-credit mo yan. Okay? Pag nabawasan naman, i-debit natin yan. Expenses is another element of financial statement. Example nito is your payment sa water, ilaw, yung pinapasahod mo sa employees mo, yung bayad sa mga bond paper, office supplies mo. Okay? There are a lot of expenses. Okay? And their normal balance is debit. Just like asset, kapag nag-increase ang expenses mo at nag-increase ang asset mo, i-debit natin yan. Otherwise, we are going to credit it. Okay? So there, that is our quick review for the normal balances. Next, we have the following questions we should mentally answer kapag nagjo-journal entry tayo. Okay, una, ano yung na-receive ng business? Pangalawa, ano yung value parted with or i-credit counterpart nung na-receive mo? Pangatlo, what accounting elements are affected? Asset ba, liabilities, equity, revenue, or expenses? What are their effects to the affected accounting element? Nag-increase ba or nag-decrease? And then, what appropriate account title would describe the effect of transaction and ano yung amount na i-record mo in that account title? So we are going to mentally answer this question kapag nagjo-journal entry tayo. Let's try the first one here. So we have here, B. Gutierrez invested 150,000 to start an accounting business. Again, ang point of view natin dito is the accounting business. We are not in the point of view of the owner. We are in the point of view of the accounting business. So in this transaction, si owner, binigyan tayo ng 150,000 to open up a business. So since that is 150,000 in cash, mag-debit tayo ng 150,000 na cash. Bakit nag-increase What is the counterpart? What is the value parted with dito sa cash na to? It's the capital of the owner. Okay, so ang capital, ang owner's equity, ang normal balance is credit. Pag nag-increase, you should credit it. So ang entry natin dito is Gutierrez capital. It's always indented ang ating credit. And then the amount is 150,000. On the third column, okay, you should always put the description of the transaction. Ito yun. Ano yun? Ano itong cash at saka capital? It is the initial investment of the owner. So you can just say to record initial investment of the owner or of B. Gutierrez. Okay? Or to record initial investment. Okay? Ganyan lang siya. That is for the first transaction. Let's move on to the second transaction. She bought a computer equipment from Lasers Incorporation on credit worth 25,000. In this case, okay, what is the value received ni accounting business? Ano ang natanggap niya? Si computer equipment. Yan. Magkano? 25,000. Okay, natanggap niya yung equipment pero hindi pa niya binabayaran. Yun po yung ibig sabihin ng on credit. Okay, pag sinabing on credit, hindi pa yan bayad. Okay, so ano ang account title na gagamitin natin dito? For any items na received but not yet paid, that is our payable. It is a liability. Okay, accounts payable. Babayaran pa lang ni accounting business si Laser Incorporation ng 25,000. Inutang puni niya yan. Okay, and the third row, to record purchased equipment on credit. You can just say it that way. That is for the second transaction. So, next, B. Gutierrez bought office supplies for cash, 10,900. Pumili siya ng office supplies. Ano ang value received? It's may pumasok na office supplies kay business. Yan. Magkano? 10,900. Pero anong counterpart niya? Ano ang value parted with when you bought office supplies? Nabawasan yung cash mo. Diba? Naka-receive ka ng supplies, nagbayad ka ng cash. So, si business, nabawasan siya ng cash. So, since ang normal balance ng cash is debit, dapat i-credit mo siya kasi it decreases. And then, you should not forget your description. So, that's the difference. Dito, sa transaction 1, nagkaroon tayo ng increase in cash. So, we debit it. However, on the third transaction, nagbayad tayo kaya nabawasan si business ng cash, we should credit it. I hope you see the difference, okay? Kung paano gamitin yung debit and credit at yung importance ng normal balances. Next, we move on to the fourth transaction. Paid Lasers Incorporation partially 15,000. Nagbayad ka kay Lasers kasi umutang ka sa kanya ng 25,000 na equipment. You paid partially. Instead of 25,000, you just paid 15,000. So, ang entry natin in this transaction is that meron tayong accounts payable na 25,000 before, nadagdagan ng utang natin. In this transaction now, mababawasan siya. Okay? That's why we are going to debit accounts payable in the amount of 15,000. Dahil nagbayad tayo, there is also a decrease in cash worth 15,000 too. Okay? There. So, ang in-imagine lang natin ano ang pumasok at ano ang lumabas sa ating business. We have the fifth transaction here. She receives a bank loan for business use, 80,000. Okay, naka-receive siya ng bank loan. So, may pumasok na pera na 80,000 na utang niya. Okay, so meron tayong cash na 80,000 and there is an additional liability for the accounting business. Okay, we can actually use accounts payable, but to make it specific na lang, no, we can use loans payable. Besides, in every transaction that you are going to meron tayong chart of accounts na fina-follow. Okay, both accounts payable and loan payable is under liability. Parehong utang yan. Parehong liability, obligation to pay. Okay, so in this transaction, mag-credit tayo ng loan payable. Okay, again, ang normal balance ng mga liabilities natin is credit. Pag nadagdagan, you credit it. Pag nabawasan, you debit it. Okay? There. Do not forget to put your description here. Next, customers paid cash for service rendered, 25,000. The customer paid cash for service rendered. Okay. Yung cash is under asset. Yung service rendered, that is your revenue. Okay. We go back here. Yan. We have an account title called service revenue. So what we are going to use here is cash and service revenue. Now, which of the two increases? Which of the two decreases? Okay. Or are they both increasing or decreasing? We'll see. Okay. So customer paid cash. Yung cash mo, nadagdagan ba or nabawasan? In this example, it's the customer who paid you, the accounting business, who paid the accounting business worth 25,000. So there is an increase in cash. Okay, yung point of view natin, wag natin kakalimutan, we are the accounting business. Si customer nagbayad kay accounting business. Kaya merong additional na cash si accounting business. So what is the counterpart of this cash? It is a service rendered. It is a service revenue. Okay. Ang normal balance ng service revenue is credit. Okay. Revenue is credit. In this transaction, nag-increase ang revenue natin. It becomes an increase in service revenue, so we are going to credit it. Okay, fair. Do not forget description: to record service rendered. Paid by customer. You can add that one. As long as it describe the transaction, you can use any terms you want. Okay, so let's continue with the seventh transaction. Service rendered on account 34,000. In this transaction, nagbigay ka ng service to a customer. However, hindi pa nagbabayad si customer. Ibig sabihin, may utang siya sa iyong business. Okay, so ano ang account title na gagamitin natin here? Okay, we have the accounts receivable. An accounts receivable is anything that a business is about to receive. Okay, for example, ito yung number 7 transaction natin, pwedeng in cash or pwede naman in goods. We still follow the value of the goods, kung goods man yan. So in this transaction, we debit accounts receivable. Accounts receivable is under asset. Assets normal balance is debit. in this transaction nag-increase, so we debit it. Okay, next. The count, what is the value parted with? Okay, so in this case, you have the service revenue. Why? Okay, a service revenue is here. Nag-render ka nga ng service, tama? And it still has the same worth, which is 34,000. The normal balance of revenue is credit. In this transaction, it increases. So you credit it. Do not forget to put your description. The record service rendered on account. On the 8th transaction, we have paid a month's rent, 6,000. So nagbayad ka, there is a decrease in your cash, and you paid the rent expense. Okay, we call it rent expense. Okay, naka-debit si rent expense kasi there is an increase in your expense, and the normal balance of expenses is debit. In this transaction, it increases while your cash decreases. Ganyan siya. Okay, just put your description. On the 9th transaction, B. Gutierrez made partial collection from customer's account, which is 9,000. Oh, in this case, nakakolek ka ng pera from a customer, so there is an increase in cash. You debit it. Debit cash worth 9,000 in credit. What? Partial collection from customers' accounts. Customers' accounts refers to your accounts receivable. Okay, so at first, okay, let's go back to 7. May utang si customer niya 34,000. But on the ninth transaction, there is a decrease. Nabawasan ng 9,000. Yan. To record partial collection from customer's account, that is a description. So in this transaction, cash is an asset and accounts receivable is also an asset. Both are asset. However, the other one increases, the other one decreases. Okay? Ganyan po. Paid salaries of employees, 10,000. Okay, salaries of employees is an expense. The normal balance of salaries is debit. Okay, so in this case, you debit 10,000 salaries and wages. Where did we get the salaries and wages pala? Here, we have here an account title, salaries and wages. Okay lang ba na magkaiba yung salaries and wages dun sa account title? Hindi po. You use salaries and wages here, you use salaries and wages here. If you use office supplies expense here, you use office supplies expense here. Okay? Hindi pwedeng salaries expenses tapos salaries and wages here. So what's the use of chart of account if you don't follow the name, yung title ng account natin? Let's move on to, let's continue number 10. Okay, since you paid salaries to employees, there is a decrease in what? In cash. Nabawasan ng cash si business. Kaya mag-credit tayo ng 10,000 na cash. Then we have the description to record salaries paid to employees. There. Let me just... I think naka-merge ito. Hindi naman. Number 11, bill the customer 14,000 and receive a partial payment of 5,000. So in this transaction, you have what we call a compound entry. When you bill the customer, okay, hindi pa siya nagbabayad. You just give the customer yung statement of account niya. Okay? Meron siyang si customer merong utang na 14,000. But in this transaction, nagbayad siya ng partial payment, which is 5,000. So we are going to make a compound entry here. Okay, so first, may accounts receivable si customer na 14,000. Nagbayad lang siya ng 5,000. So what is left? It's 9,000. So dapat ang total nito is 14,000. And you have the revenue na 14,000. So explain lang natin ito, no? Okay. This is what we call a compound entry. Okay, meron siyang 2 or more account titles in a journal entry. Okay. Accounts receivable and cash is both an asset. Okay. Bakit si cash naka-debit? Okay. Naka-receive si business ng 5,000 partial payment. So there is an increase in cash. Bakit may accounts receivable na 9,000? Okay. Since 14,000 ang utang ni customer, nagbayad lang siya ng 5,000, meron pang utang si customer na 9,000. And what are these two? This is what we call revenue. Okay, which is 14,000 ang total. Pwede bang si debit saka si credit? Yung total nito saka nito is magkaiba? Hindi po. Dapat balanse ito at si ito. So 9 plus 5 is 14,000 is equal to 14,000 na revenue. That is for 11. 12, office supplies purchased 8,000 and made a down payment of 3,000. Bumili ka pero hindi mo binayaran ng buo. Okay, let's write yung journal entry nito. Okay, so bumili ka ng office supply. May pumasok na office supply sa business, so you debit that. Why? Office supplies normal balance is debit because office supply is under asset. How much? 8,000. You made a down payment of 3,000. In this case, naglabas ka ng cash. Naglabas ka ng worth 3,000 na cash. So that would be your credit. Why? Ang cash is an asset. Normal balance is debit. Pag nabawasan, credit. Next, may naiwang kang utang worth 5,000. Ang accounts payable, ang normal balance po niya, it is a liability, okay? Ang normal balance niya is credit. Since nadagdagan na naman yung utang mo ng 5,000, you credit it. Ay pag nabawasan, saka mo lang siya i-debit. Then you put the description here, there. To record purchase office supplies on account with down payment. That is for number 12 transaction. We have last two. Office supplies bought for cash and used 6,000. So here, okay, so you buy an office supplies at nagamit mo na rin siya. So in this case, you have bought office supplies but you did not record it nung binili mo siya. Okay, ni-record mo na siya nung pagkatapos mong gamitin. So we have here office supplies expense. Bakit hindi na siya office supplies just like this one? Because office supplies in this transaction is an asset. This time it becomes an expense. Why? Used na po kasi siya. What is the amount? 6,000. And then, since you bought it, naglabas ka ng pera, so there is a decrease in cash. That's why we have to credit it. Okay? And then to record used office supplies. That is the journal entry for number 13. Office supplies is an expense. Office supplies expense is an expense. Cash is an asset. Accounts payable is a liability. Office supplies is an asset. Okay. B. Gutierrez withdrew 15,000 for his personal use. So in this case, withdrawal, this is a new term, right? Withdrawal, we call it in accounting drawing. Okay, it is a decrease in capital, but we do not debit capital. What we do is we make another account title to record withdrawals. So in this case, the owner withdraw 15,000 for personal use. There is a debit in withdrawal and credit in cash. How much? 15,000 to record owner's withdrawal. So that's how we journal entry. As a reminder again, all you have to do pag nagre-record is to identify kung ano ang i-debit, ano ang i-credit, magkano ang amount ng i-debit at i-credit, kaya hindi po siya always pareho. We have an example here. See? Itong transaction na ito, okay, we have 9 and 5 and 14, so hindi siya parehas, but it should total the same. Okay, 12, ganun din. So we call it a compound entry. This one we call it a single entry. Kalimutan natin yung description. Okay, so there. And another question, anong element ang affected? Is it asset, liabilities, equity, revenue, or expenses? Okay, if you have identified kung anong element, what account title? Is it cash, capital, equipment, accounts payable, office supplies, yan. Next question, ano ang normal balance ng mga ito? Nag-increase ba sila? Nag-decrease ba sila? That's the time that you are going to record it. So those are just examples on how to record this transaction. I hope naintindihan nyo. If you have question, you can just email me, message me. Okay, so I think that's all. Thank you very much and have a great day.